Welcome to Pitstop Podcast number 7 we're at now here at Manchester. This is the 2024 edition brought to you by Ask the Accountant, and we have a really special guest who's recently changed career path, so we've got to dive into it a little bit more. Sam, do you want to tell everyone to the world like who you are, why they should follow you, and let's have an update of where you are and what's going on?
Thank you, Aaron. Thanks for having me as well. Yeah, I suppose this is career change number, I don't know how many. Sam Tasker-Grindley by background. I'm a chartered accountant. So my first career change came through COVID, and then came on the dark side, on the technology side, working with accountants and bookkeepers. And yeah, really recently, in fact, I'm in week 3 of my new role, co-founder of Nexus, which is partnered with Sedulo, which is a mid-tier advisory firm. And basically, we partner with accounting firms, bookkeepers, and portfolio businesses to help them get access to the wide suite of services that Sedulo can provide them, and just fill the gaps of the things that they can't do themselves.
Awesome. And do you think it was born from issues you've had later on, earlier in the career, or what's brought you to this part of it?
Yeah, good question. I've worked in, when I was still an accountant, I worked in firms of all sorts of different sizes.
Yeah.
From startup accounting firms all the way up to RSM, being sort of top 6 accounting firm. For those smaller ones that are desperate to grow, scale, bring in new services, there's more and more demands on those. I'm just talking your language, I think, but there's more and more demands on you and what you can provide for your clients. But it's impossible for you to do everything all at once.
100%.
So
yeah,
I definitely just think there's a gap there, and there's a space to, especially whilst the industry and the profession has moved to doing more collaboration with others. I remember back in the day when I was still an accountant, every other accounting firm was seen as competition rather than an opportunity to collaborate with. And I think this feels like the right sort of time to be launching something like this, where people are a lot more open-minded about how they can provide the best sort of service to their clients. They don't always have to be the one delivering it themselves if they can find a trusted solution to do it.
Awesome. And it's your baby, right? This one, you've got the opportunity to mold it. You've must have learned over the past however many years of what to do and what not to do in this sort of industry, right?
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, what really excited me about this opportunity is that it is my baby. And the thing that I'm really passionate about is almost to butt the trend a little bit, in where tech isn't the biggest USP. The service, the relationships, the expertise are the biggest USP.
Yeah.
And some tech is being developed in the background, has been developed in the background, that's just going to be the enabler rather than the key selling point. I think with all the noise of tech, we're in, you can see everything here today. I think I want to break through that noise with just amazing customer service and really great expertise.
Yeah. And I think you partnered with the right people to deliver that, right? So, loving it. Okay, let's talk through some of the questions we have here to grill you on what's going on. So, you know this industry, you've been part of this industry, you've seen many of these events. What's your first impression of Accountex North 2024?
I've always been a big fan of Accountex North. I'm a slightly adopted northerner, so I'm from the south originally, but have lived up here for about 6-7 years.
Yep.
My wife kept me up here, or my now wife kept me up here. What I love about Accountex North is how friendly everyone is. I think it's much easier. I'm obviously not exhibiting today, but I have over the last few years, and people are much more up for a chat.
Amazing.
Whereas, sometimes Accountex London, it feels like you physically have to stop people to have a chat with you. I think generally speaking, it's just a slightly more friendly environment. And then it just feels a bit more community than some of the bigger ones.
Yeah.
It feels a little bit more accessible. You can have proper chats with people. Yeah, I just quite like the chill out vibe.
I love it. And what have the team done? Like, it's just gone from strength to strength. This is by far the biggest we've ever seen it, right? And
biggest and busiest, I think. I don't think they'll get too many complaints from the vendors this year, because if you're not getting good conversations, then you're probably doing things wrong.
100%. So this is one of the first times you've been to an event as a general hunter. You're wandering around, you're taking time out of your business to come along to here. You've obviously seen people do it before. You've had to do it now as yourself. For anyone listening who's maybe never been to an event like this or anything like that, how do you take action from something? How do you make sure that you get that return on investment? And I know for you, I assume you're going to count that in maybe leads or referrals or something, but there's so much information we're going to get, so much opportunities out there. Like, how would you take action from an event like that?
I think it's a really good question. When I last attended accounting conferences when I was still in an accounting firm, I suppose I'm still a fairly young accountant, but was very keen on the networking side and wanting to just chuck myself into, this amazing ecosystem that's been created. I think one of the key things attending accounting conferences is to do a bit of planning. So plan which talks you want to go to, plan which vendors you want to see, and also try and find some people that you know are going to be here, and then arrange to meet up for a coffee or what have you. Because just wandering around, it can be quite intimidating. It can be quite an overwhelming atmosphere to be in, and obviously everyone wants to talk to you and sell to you. That's why if you're a bit more planned, you can I'm going to go here, I'm going to go see these guys, rather than just walking around fairly aimlessly. And I think that's where you can end up being a bit of a busy fool.
I love
And then
that.
in terms of taking action, again, part of that is in the planning. I think just be deliberate about where you feel like you've got gaps in your accounting firm, and then specifically come to fill those.
Yeah, perfect. And I love that idea of just going for a coffee with them afterwards, or like take the pressure off it then, isn't it? It's, you've made that connection, you made that relationship, then let's do it in an environment where you're not feeling pressured. You're not, because most of the time with a lot of these vendors, you're in a queue, aren't you? And there's people behind you and everything else. So I love that advice. Okay. You are definitely someone who is, especially from my world, like seeing you in ICAW and everything else, I see there's definitely a passion for the industry coming from you. But what do you love about this industry? Why this industry? What is it about it?
Part of my passion comes from just how grateful I am for the career it's given me. And my career's gone a bit all over the place, and I've not gone down a traditional path in the end, but probably initially I was being pushed down that route, as I think you were back in the day, where you think you've just got to try and become partner somewhere. But so for me, it's born out of being grateful, actually. And then I know this is a weird thing to say because I'm no longer technically an accountant. I still pay my membership. I'm still technically a chartered accountant, but I'm not practicing anymore. But I think it's one of the most exciting times to be an accountant. But I don't think yet the profession portrays itself properly externally to make it seem as exciting or as it could be. And that's, it's not just about sitting and doing number crunching anymore. The human side is even more important than it's ever been. You've got to be growing relationships with your business owners. You've got to provide an amazing service across the board. You've got to be, giving them things they don't even know they need. I just think there's so much opportunity to learn new technology and to, learn people skills and learn human skills and all that sort of thing. It's just so much more of a profession than it's ever been, in my opinion. So that's 100%. Why, my passion comes from genuine interest, but also just comes from being super grateful for the career it's provided me.
Yeah, and you're right. We've got to break that mold, right? We've got to get the rest of the world to know what an accountant is and how it is, because that's the only way we're going to attract the talent going forward, isn't it?
People still think accountants are boring. And don't get me wrong, there are some boring accountants out there.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the norm anymore. And I don't know how you break that perception or break that across the board. But, these accountants really are superheroes, and they drive businesses and they drive the economy. They're the unsung superheroes. If you like, there's definitely nothing boring about them.
100%. And I don't think it is just one person who can change that, right? As a collective, we've got to figure that out. Okay, so that's what you love about the industry, and that's what makes you passion. What is it you'd like to change about the industry? What keeps you up at night, if that is the case?
That's a good question. What do I hate about the industry? I suppose this slightly might contradict what I've just said beforehand in terms of what I love. But I suppose what I hate is sometimes the pace of change is just so slow.
Yeah.
And, even if you just think about cloud accounting adoption, it's still only 20% of the whole profession is still adopting cloud accounting. And, now AI is the new thing, but is it really that much? How quickly is that adoption going to happen? Is it going to happen quicker than cloud accounting? I don't know if it is really. So, there's all this talk about AI being a threat to jobs, and for those that are looking to adopt it to enhance their productivity and all that sort of stuff, which is great. But how fast is that pace of change going to be? It needs mass adoption for it to really start to get exciting. And as we know, there's still quite a few accounting firms out there that are not all that willing to adapt and change all that quickly. So I think it's frustration in the pace of change.
There's definitely frustration there.
And I have that frustration that you still have those accounting firms providing the same sort of service that they've done for hundreds of years. The business owners and clients that have been with them for 20, 30 years don't know any different. So they're missing out on opportunities to grow their own business, and that's a bit frustrating. It
is, isn't it? Yeah. And unfortunately, then if people come into the industry and that's all they see of it, then we don't retain them in the industry, right? And that's the change we're trying to make. Okay, so we normally ask the question of what's your ideal client, but for you, who are you looking to work with? If you were trying to find that type of accountancy firm, what strives to you? What's that number one referral you're looking for?
Another good question. For me, it's an ambitious accounting firm, i.e. someone who wants to provide more than just compliance. They want to be, I'm not going to say that word advisory, but just like they're always looking for other ways to support their clients and,
Yep,
and
yep.
to grow their business. If you want me to get really specific about that person, they're good listeners. They want to have conversations with their clients on a regular basis. They're good listeners, because if you partner with Nexus, we're just the solution to a lot of those problems that your clients might have that you might not necessarily be able to do at the moment. So it's specifically niche from an accounting firm perspective is sole practitioner or a small growing accounting firm that can't do lots of the things that we can do, and we just fit really nicely into your process and system, so you can start to offer those services out there.
I love that. I mean, that's exactly what we were on the podcast yesterday for Digital Disruption Awards. That's exactly what Joe Woods was saying. Like, it's all about outsourcing, right? You've got to know what your strengths are, know what your weaknesses are. And if you can then start offering more solutions to your clients, they're going to be happier, and it's a win-win, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've only been here for a couple of weeks, but I've already been blown away by the variety of referrals that have come our way. So because of my background, everyone assumes that there's loads of funding referrals that get sent our way, and of course there are already. But we've just done a solicitor's accounts rule audit for someone. We're doing company valuations. We're doing R&D. It's just like, I think it's pretty unique out there at the moment that you can get all of that in one trusted place. And I think accounting firms, well, so far the ones I've spoken to, quite like that it's just streamlined in one area.
Yeah, and you're right. There's not really anyone properly doing it around this area. So love it. Let's think back 12 months from here. So you were here for Swoop, I assume you were started there.
I was.
Think back to a piece of tech or an app or something that you've been using in your day-to-day life now. And it doesn't have to just be work related, it could be anything that you wish you could go back 12 months and say, adopt this now. This is something that's completely changed my way. It's completely changed the way that I work, and for the better. And realistically, we just want to find something that the listeners can go, you know what, I should be adopting that now. Is there anything out there that you can think of that's completely changed the game for you?
The biggest thing I've adopted since being out of accounting and then on the tech side, the thing, and this is probably a really boring answer, but I think the thing that has helped drive a bit of culture and communication in the places I've worked since leaving accounts, it's just been Slack.
Yeah.
And I think Slack 100%. Is a great communication tool, where I see lots of people using Teams or, Facebook Workplace or whatever it's called. I think for me, Slack has an edge on that. And it's just been a really useful way to keep in touch, but in a really systemized, pragmatic way. I've really enjoyed. I think Slack's brought along things together. And then my underutilized tool, I utilize it a lot. And again, this is going to sound really simple, but WhatsApp.
Yeah.
I don't know why more accounting firms and businesses like ourselves don't use WhatsApp. If you think about all the noise that you get on email, when you're trying to chase tax returns or accounts or what have you, WhatsApp's the way to go. And I know client windows here, and they're a great option for that to sync it in with everything else. So for me, communication is where it's the difference between good service and bad service. So sort out your channels of communication internally and externally, and I think you're onto a winner.
I couldn't agree more. And you're right. I don't know if the WhatsApp solution's fully been fixed yet. And Client Windows did a great job, and I know they're there. But we are desperate to find a way to implement it into our practice, because that's what our clients are asking for, right? They just want to communicate with us in as simple a way as possible, and just make it simple for them, right?
It's where they are all the time, aren't they? Don't do this, Aaron. But if you were to look at you can go and see how many times you picked up your phone and looked at WhatsApp or looked at various different apps, and it's probably scary. For the majority
I can imagine.
But some ways you've got to play into that, don't you?
Yeah,
that's where 100%,
they are. 100%. Okay, you've kind of already answered this, but we'll try and put it in a different way. So we've looked 12 months backwards. Let's look 12 months forward. AI is the buzzword at the moment. Is it just a buzzword? Is it just a fad? Or do you generally believe that this is going to be something that's going to be a force of good for the accounting industry?
I think it definitely can be a force for good. I think a large part of the adoption is going to be on how the ones driving AI. So you got Expert and you got a few others, others that are here. If they invest in the implementation and the success part of their teams, I think you might get better adoption. But one of my frustrations has always been with tech companies is that they just hire a load of salespeople and they don't invest enough in the teams that are actually supposed to be there to work with the accounting firms to help them to adopt it properly. And it's one thing selling the dream and telling everyone, whether it be through fear mongering or just impressing people, how great AI is going to be to them. But unless you actually get your hands dirty and help them to implement it on a day-to-day basis, it's going to go nowhere quickly.
No. And you'll just have a bad churn rate, right?
Yeah, you will just have a bad churn rate. My passion is customer success since being on the tech side rather than selling a dream. And with Nexus, I will never, you can write this down. I will never hire a dedicated sales team at Nexus. It will always be a sales and success role, because
Good.
last thing in the world I want is just some salespeople throwing some stuff over to the success team and be like, deal with that, please. Thank you. I think we will sell via success and we sell via implementation.
And you want to deliver end to end on that, right?
Deliver end to end on that. I don't just want a dream to be sold up front and then to not be able to deliver it in the background. And I think that's where I want to see AI tech companies. And it's very challenging when you've got external investors come in and they just want to see MRR growth every single month, MRR growth. They want to see the number of accounting firms you're working with all the time. So they're like, the only way to do that really is to get loads of salespeople. But that's not how you win in the long term. That's not how you get mass adoption. In my opinion, you need to, if not equally invest in your success or implementation, then invest more in that side of things, because that's ultimately how you win, I believe.
Very good point.
You agree with that?
I do. I think you're onto a point. I think, yeah, we're not there at all at the moment. It's a buzzword at the moment. They're just using it to try and sell. But you're right. If we don't adopt it properly, it's not going to go anywhere, is it?
Lots of accounting firms and bookkeepers have got so many other bits of tech they're trying to adopt at the same time. Or you've got the non-AI one saying, you need to have this in your business, otherwise you're going to fall behind everyone else. So what level of support is actually there for you to help roll it out? And I think there's a lot of these guys are missing a trick here.
And unfortunately, I've been subject to it. I've been sold a dream. I bought into it. 3 months later, 4 months, 5 months later, thinking to myself, why am I still paying for that software? And that, and I see myself as someone who likes to get my hands dirty and play around, but even myself couldn't do it. So yeah, it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. I think we need to make sure that we bring you back at some point for a rehash or a redo of the Cool Friends episode. Just you. Not Sam and Sam. It's just the Sam. We want to dive deeper into the story of you. But for now, though, can you use that camera to plug away to your heart's content, to sell yourself, where people can find you, all that sort of stuff? The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. You can find me. I'm very much around on LinkedIn, so I'm pretty sure I'm the only Tasker-Grindley on LinkedIn, so I won't be difficult to find. Yeah, please just reach out. There's no obligation. We don't tie people into long-term contracts, so we just want to work with people who are getting value from working with us. And if you're ever not, then you can say goodbye and off you go. I will always just be driving a people-led, service-led offering. And if that's a bit of you, then why not come and check us out?
I think this is definitely a conversation that you should be having with a lot more accountants out there. So good luck with it. Good luck with it. And there we have it. There is another episode of the Pitstop Podcast brought to you by Ask the Accountant here at Manchester 2024. We still have some amazing guests lined up. So don't forget to use that like, subscribe, and all that jazz. Sam, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to sit down and have a Pitstop Podcast with you. But as I said before, let's make sure we get another Cool Friends episode in there at some point.
Thank you for reaching out.
Cheers.
Cheers, Aaron.